Hi, Laurie and Wayne, and Merry Christmas.
Hi, Laurie and Wayne.
Merry Christmas, Wayne and Lori.
Hey, Tees and family, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays.
Hi, Merry Christmas, Aunt Lori and Uncle Wayne.
Hey guys, wishing you a Merry Christmas.
Hi, Aunt Lori and Uncle Wayne. I just wanted to share with you my memory that I had of Ryan.
Hey, if you don't know me, my name is Brandon, and I met Ryan just before grade 9 began.
Hi, this is Maya Davies. I worked with Ryan at Noble Street, and he was also one of my dear friends.
Hey guys, I'm Sherry Roman. I used to work with Ryan at the studio with Gavin Brown.
Ryan, our first grandchild. I was in love.
I just wanted to share a memory I had of Ryan.
It is so hard to come up with just one memory about Ryan.
Hilary asked me to tell you a memory I have of me and Ryan.
I just wanted to share a memory I have of Ryan giving me a private guitar concert. I'm sure he felt a little awkward sitting there with me alone, but once he started playing the guitar, he just looked so happy and he was so talented, and I'm very, very glad that I had that chance to be with him.
You know, he was always special and always one of those people that you could count on. Numerous times I'd get into trouble or something would happen and I need help, and Ryan was always the first call because, you know, I knew I could count on him and he'd have your back.
One thing that always comes to mind when I think about Ryan is back when I first got a skateboard. It was a white and black checkerboard pattern zero deck with a heart and a lightning bolt through the middle of it. And I remember being super excited to come down to Whitby and show Ryan like what I could do. And I remember being in my garage trying to land kickflip. And I never really did end up getting the hang of it.
So many wonderful memories come to mind when I think about you. Your laugh, your smile, your love for your music, and your love for your family.
One of my favorite things about Ryan was that he always included people. When we were younger, he would always make sure everyone got a turn, whether it was playing video games or catching up with everyone at family gatherings.
One year, everyone was away for school, and it was Ryan, Steph, and I who would hang out almost every single night, driving around, getting food, just doing whatever, and I just love that. I really did.
So one of my most recent memories of Ryan was earlier this year, January. We all decided to go bowling one night. He was working late, so we ended up meeting us at Neb's. So unbeknownst to me and Sel, Ryan was actually really good at bowling. Me and Sel, not so much. And our friends that we brought with us, not so much. So ended up going there. Ryan ended up kicking our butts, all of us, won every single round. We decided to go grab some food after. So he drove one of our friends, like one of our girlfriends from work, and then we drove ourselves. We got there first, so we ended up ordering him a Shirley Temple, which was one of his favorite drinks at that moment in time. But when he got there, the waitress ended up giving the drink that we had ordered for him to our girlfriend, because not realizing that it was for Ryan. I mean, like, who orders a Shirley Temple other than children, right?
I have never seen anyone eat as much as Ryan, specifically this weekend. From the morning he got up, he ate breakfast, he continued eating. We had lunch, he continued eating. We didn't help the situation because we kept feeding him snacks the whole time, which eventually left him incapacitated by the campfire. He couldn't move, but he was okay. He had all his snacks right beside him, so he was okay. I just remember his gut. He pulled his shirt up and his gut was just like out to here. It was hilarious. Everyone was laughing at him. He was laughing with us. And that's what I truly miss about Ryan. It was, you could make fun of each other, but then you could just laugh about it afterwards because no one really took it personal, or he didn't really take it personal.
Every Thanksgiving or Christmas, we would be doing a turkey, and Stephanie would prepare a little Cornish hen for him. And how excited he'd be.
Yeah, they were little bacon wrapped hens, because, you know, we wrapper turkeys and bacon as well. So I never wanted him to miss out, so I wrapped him up a little baby turkey.
And he'd always want to make it dance.
Oh, he would make it dance. And one time I was making him gravy and I used flour instead of rice flour, and I poisoned him, and he was not well for the night, so.
What do I remember about Ryan? Lots of things. He was a fun-loving, he had such a great smile, and he laughed.
I just remember hearing his laugh stand out over everyone else's.
We also loved when all of you cousins got together at the cottage. We listened to you play your guitar around the fire pit, and we watched you capture critters, especially snakes, and scare Evan with them.
I gotta go back to the cottage here with my memory, and catching snakes with Ryan was something that we always did as kids, and I don't know why this one keeps coming back to me, but I think Aunt Laurie might remember this one pretty good too. The time that we caught the baby rattlesnake, and we were playing with it not knowing that it was a rattlesnake at the time. I don't know why I keep thinking of this one, but it wrapped around his arm and it bit his finger, and then we could see that the rattle was going off, so the two of us kind of freaked out a little bit and ran over to, I believe we ran over to Aunt Laurie. We eventually got the snake pried off, and found out later that because it didn't have the puffs over the eyes, that it actually wasn't poisonous. So a little learning curve for us as kids.
My favorite memory with Ryan, or the memory that sticks out the most for me at least, was when I went and watched one of his hockey games. Ryan was playing for the Whitby Wildcats, and must have had a long shift. He came off the ice, he was pretty gassed, so he laid down flat on his back on the bench, and I noticed he wasn't wearing his mouth guard. So I looked over to Aunt Laurie and I just said, "Why isn't Ryan wearing his mouth guard?" And like right away, her immediate response was, "He fucking better be." So I don't know why that memory sticks out for me, but just gives me a good laugh when I think about it.
One memory that sticks with me the most is when we were young, we were up at the cottage. I think it was just me and Ryan and Hilary up. I came up with you guys, and we saw this huge water snake that we thought we'd chase around the lake, and we chased around for all day, like half the day, and we finally we didn't see it for an hour, and so we gave up, and as we were getting out of the water, it was sitting there in the sun, just up on the shore, and we caught it, and that was the memory that has stuck with me the most.
My memories of Ryan are a lot of them are up at the cottage, at the fire pit, in the frog pond, catching frogs and snakes, and more frogs to feed to snakes, watching the snake digest the first one, struggle with the second one, him thinking that was the greatest thing that he saw. Then later, going to the arenas, and then I remember Wakefest, having a great time with him. And Aaron and Wayne, he really enjoyed Wakefest. I'll never forget you, Ryan.
Ryan was so happy when he was at the cottage as a kid. He would dig a hole next door and build a ramp, and then he would get a plank and put it on it and then come down with a bicycle. He would drive down the alley and then up on the plank and over the hole, and he would do this quite often, and he loved to do this. And also when he would come to Florida, he used to go and catch geckos, and he would love to put them in his pocket, and we would always get after him, but he says, "No, they don't hurt me," so we would let him carry on.
When we would come for a visit, it was a big hug and an I love you every time.
my favorite memory would have to be when we went to Daytona to visit Grandma and Grandpa. We've always had so much fun there, boogie boarding in the ocean, and I remember getting those scooters and scootering around in the parking lot.
He loved Christmas. He loved his family. He was revered by his cousins. I remember right now I'm thinking about Halloween, how we went trick-or-treating with Ryan. What a highlight of the childhood that was.
Flying to Florida with you and your mom and Aaron, you were almost 2, Aaron was just 1. The altitude hurt your ears and you cried like crazy and you couldn't stop. So we traded kids and you and I spent the rest of the flight in the airplane washroom, flushing the toilet over and over again. It made your ears feel better, so you belly laughed like crazy every time the toilet made the big whoosh sound.
The first thing I wanted to say is thanks for asking Jane and I to be Ryan's godparents. At the time we were, as you know, having difficulty having a child of our own, so that was very much appreciated, and it really was a gift for us. So thanks for that. He was always genuine when asking questions and cared about how you were doing. While I didn't see him as often as I would have liked, he was always there if you wanted somebody to talk to and would listen without judgment.
Most of my memories of Ryan are from around this time of year, you know, all those Thiessen family Christmases. I can remember one Thiessen family Christmas where Ryan played a little Led Zeppelin for us on his guitar, among other things.
Grateful that we got to spend some time with Ryan last year during Christmas. It was really nice spending time with you guys and Ryan together. It was really nice to see you as a family. You all seem so close, and I really admire that.
Things on the internet or tell jokes, and we had this same kind of over-the-top sense of humor and desire to really just abandon ourselves to funny things together, and we would laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh till our stomachs hurt, until we cry, and then just continue laughing even if no one understood what we were laughing about. We got it together.
And I was telling Ryan an embarrassing story about me asking a guy out at the gym. So Ryan knew that I had been checking this guy out for months, and I finally worked up the courage to ask him out. I was super nervous, and so I asked him out, and he said, you know, I'm super flattered, but I have a girlfriend. So he said no, and I did this. Well, you don't know until you ask. And I remember Ryan sitting on the couch, literally falling off the couch and just laughing with his infectious laugh that he had, and just saying, you're not my sister, you're not my sister, oh my God, you're so awkward. And it's just one of those things that I'll remember for the rest of my life.
I remember one time, I love The Office, so I always use reference from The Office and stuff like that. Ryan hates The Office. He used to hate it, and he never wanted to watch it. But how awesome he was, he actually decided to watch the whole 9 season so he can actually get my jokes. And there's a picture. I hope we can put it when he actually loved The Office in the middle, and he was like eating, and he almost like spit the food out of out of his mouth because it was like a funny scene just showed up.
There's so many great memories, just tons of laughter, tons of fun. That's all I can ever think of when I think of Ryan.
I loved his infectious laugh. Ryan would laugh so hard when I burped really loud, and he would want me to do it again and again and again. He would say, "Do that again, Grandma."
So I met Ryan when I was 17. Max Milk, of course, is where we met for the first time. We were good friends for the first 2 years. It wasn't actually until his 19th birthday. Him and I were the only people legal to go to the bar as a January birthday. He's the start of February. So nobody else could come with us yet. So 2 of us went down to On the Rocks. It was a bit uncomfortable for the first little while. We'd never been in a bar before. It was a little bit awkward, but him and I ended up just sitting there the whole night, learning each other's family history, learning, how those talks go after a couple beers. We ended up just becoming super close friends after that. I mean, history just wrote itself right there. That was something I'll cherish. It was the first time that me and him really got personal with each other and really opened up. I mean, ever since then, he was absolutely one of my dearest, closest, best friends.
I think it's a safe estimate that Ryan and I spent like 90% of our time bickering with one another. Even when we were having a good time, the two of us were fighting. First thing that springs to mind is he spent 2 days trying to convince me to watch a Jimi Hendrix documentary. Not that I don't love Jimi Hendrix, but it was on YouTube. So I just immediately assumed it was going to be awful. And he spent 2 days trying to convince me to watch it. And then finally, he got me to put it on. A minute and 15 seconds into it, he looks at me and he goes, "You were right. I messed up. This is going to be awful." All of the, like, people didn't have actual titles. They weren't real police officers and stuff like that. It was, like, sort of like hired by Jimmy's friend to look into his disappearance after the police had already decided that it was... But we sat and we watched the entire, like, 45-minute documentary or whatever it was, just time that I was never, ever, ever going to get back. And then when it finished, I think the conclusion was something along the lines of the FBI was responsible for Jimi Hendrix's death through force-feeding him red wine. And when it finished, he turned and he looked at me and he went, "Yeah, all right, you can pick the movie next time." But he giggled the whole last half of it because I just complained about how bad it was. And he kept saying he wanted to finish it, and he just didn't want me to get that time back. Just sucked half an hour out of my pocket.
Knowing how allergic he was to our cats, he would go up and start to pet them. And
he would pick them up and just like hold on to Milo, and then he'd start rubbing his face.
And as the night progressed, you could see his eyes slowly shooting more and more.
He'd be all red and sneezing, and we're like, "Do you need an allergy pill?" He's like, "I just took one. I'm fine. And he would just soldier on through it and keep petting the cats. I don't understand it.
Of all the memories that I can think of, it would have to be the one night at Austin's house. Everybody was over there, and I guess we were kind of getting maybe a little loud, but it wasn't even that late. And then all of a sudden, one of the neighbors screamed over, complaining about how loud we were being, and Ryan decided to grab some cake pans and walk outside, banging them together and screaming that he's baking a cake for everybody in the neighborhood and they couldn't have it. The entire reaction of the house just stopped. And then immediately burst out laughing. It was the funniest thing we had ever seen at that time.
So whenever I was able to see Ryan, we were both able to connect with what we both loved, music.
I remember how talented he was and how that came out for him, and he was just doing what he loved.
Mostly I know he loved or liked his music a lot, and he was really good at it. And I was really happy for him that he found something that he really liked and was going to do that, and was on his way to making a living at it. And he was doing something that no one else in the family had done, and he found his own way, and I was really proud of him for that.
I suggested that we take this tour. He wasn't really sure what he wanted to do with his life, but I had a few friends that went to this school, and it just made sense in my head that he'd be there. So I remember walking in through those doors, and the way that his face just lit up, and you could see that he had fallen in love. This is exactly where he needed to be, and after convincing his parents, he went, and, he made a life out of it, and he worked hard at his job, and he loved what he did, and, I love that he got that opportunity because not a lot of people find that in their lives.
I've always really, really liked jamming with Ryan because we've always connected, and sometimes that's very difficult between musicians, but me and Ryan have always kind of had that through playing in bands together and just jamming all the time at parties, at his house, at my house, at my jam space. So when I remember Ryan, I really like to remember him in that moment.
It was awesome to have someone in the family to connect with based on our passions. And it was just amazing when I got to record my song with him and he was able to give me that feedback, because it really meant something.
And some that really stick out for me are the nights at Jimmy O'Toole's when he was Dither Co. And we'd go out and show our support for our friends and just have such a great time listening to music and dancing, and it was always so much fun.
When we were working on a music project together and we were recording in the basement, and I just remember him saying, "Wow, I love the tone of your voice." And I was just like, "I love the tone of your voice." And we just laughed about that. And that's the one thing that him and I loved to do together, was laugh and play music together and listen to music. So that's something I will remember him for forever.
One year, it was Christmas at your place, and it just seemed like Ryan had really found himself. He had grown out his hair. He was playing the guitar. He was listening to Nirvana, and I realized then Ryan was like a really cool guy, and he found this passion for music, and he turned that into a career, and I have a lot of respect for him for that.
I was always amazed at just how talented he was, and I can only hope that our little guys here can follow in his musical footsteps. We keep Ryan's candle here in our little music corner, and hopefully he can provide some inspiration for them.
He was super talented and inspirational with his music. He was just such an awesome guitar player, so creative. And I remember when he started making electronic music, how dedicated he was and the time that he would put in. Like, we'd barely see him for like a week, 2 weeks at a time, because he'd be in there just learning and figure out stuff and making a bunch of songs. And it was just inspirational. And he really gave me my first start into this stuff. Like, he got me my first gig, and it really helped that happen. And I used his equipment for my first gig, like, he really helped me out.
I miss you, Ryan. I love you, and I know that you're still with all of us every single day.
And I think about you every single day, Ryan, and miss you.
I really miss you, brother, and I love you.
Everybody got a chance to know him, even not so close. He will know like how nice and how kind he was. He's gonna be always in my heart, and I'm gonna always remember him and all the funny and very remarkable moments we had.
And love you, big guy.
Love you always, Ryan.
Thinking about Ryan, think about him almost every day. One of my best friends for 10 plus years.
Ryan, you were really an amazing older brother to me, and I love you and I miss you so much.
I'll miss him a lot, and I do miss him a lot.
I miss him. I love you guys. I hope you guys are all okay. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays. Love you guys.